AOA podcast back. Monday episode. Hello, all you beautiful people in the live chat. So nice to see you all here. We've got a whole slew of topics to discuss. We surveyed 100 Americans and asked them what the top stories were for today. And the answers are here on the board. Ghislaine Maxwell on the move, what the government tried to hide from us. Plus, this alien probe that everybody's talking about online will reveal the truth behind whether or not an alien probe is hurling towards Earth or if it's just some space junk. MrBeast is at the top of his game. He reveals all of the YouTube play buttons, which I find pretty interesting. Plus a lot of political stuff here. The Obama officials are headed for a grand jury probe. The Texas House of Representatives situation is getting out of control. Stephen Colbert's got his next gig lined up, and maybe the most important topic of the episode, bigger getting smaller for the ladies. Yeah, there's a Wall Street Journal report on that whole thing. Fairly interesting. Plus, we'll mix in other little things here and there, my friends. Put it all together. That is a podcast. All right, the more controversial our topics get, which they are at the height of it, the harder it is for us in the algorithm. So again, hit that like button, share it on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram stories, wherever you have some group of friends. Put our episodes there on YouTube and Facebook. We certainly do appreciate that. Of course, if you're listening later on or watching on Spotify, thank you guys very much for the continued support. You all know that we were one of the first video podcasts on Spotify following the great Joe Rogan. I watched the Billy Joel documentary. It was really good on HBO Max. Definitely go check it out if you have a chance, even if you have a mild interest in Billy Joel. I love him, and obviously I'm from Queens, but I live in Long Island now, so I'm required by law to love him. But I would love him no matter what. And the documentary was really well done. I learned a whole bunch of stuff about Billy Joel that I did not know. So check that out. 2-part documentary, really, really good. And if you like streaming items, go to the anthonyonair.com. That's anthonyonair.com. Click on our blog. We've got a whole list of what's coming to streaming this week on the big services. We got a big thing with Aquaman. I don't know his real name. What is it? Momoa? He's got a new show, and Wednesday returns to Netflix. So see everything that we got up there at anthonyonair.com. Just click on the blog. Okay, lots of obviously disturbing conversation around Ghislaine Maxwell the last couple of weeks and Jeffrey Epstein. Last episode, we told you that the government moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security, from a minimum security prison to what they call prison camp, what a lot of people refer to as Club Fed. And what we're learning now is it is really upsetting the inmates over there in Texas where she landed. And essentially it's because those club feds are for white collar crimes, nonviolent crimes, and trafficking minors to billionaires and politicians. Not exactly, I would say, nonviolent. So the inmates there were upset basically for that reason. But obviously, I would be upset too, right? But I was like, this is kind of weird. And so the more that we pushed into it, we came to find out that when Ghislaine was moved into the prison went on lockdown. And as you can imagine, for a prison camp with no fence around it to keep people in, lockdowns are probably very few and far in between. But this particular prison camp in Texas went on a lockdown. And not only did it go on a lockdown, but they closed all the shades while they moved Ghislaine Maxwell in. So they were trying to hide Ghislaine Maxwell from the general population in the prison camp with the hope that nobody would find out or know. Just when you think your own government can't get any dumber or more stupider, as I like to say, they give us the old hold my beer, because who's not going to eventually find out that Ghislaine Maxwell is in the prison camp? But they gave it their all. They gave it their best by locking the prison down. According to the Telegraph, lots of inmates were disgusted when they finally realized what it was, but they locked the prison down, closed all the shades, and literally snuck her in to this prison camp to try and go under the radar. I don't know, maybe to buy them a couple more days or what. I don't know what they were honestly hoping for. It doesn't make any sense to me that they would try and attempt this, but they tried. They tried, which just goes to show you again, and I'm starting to get a lot of flack from our MAGA friends, but this administration's handling of this entire situation has been a god-awful nightmare. And it's been a black eye on the administration. And even for people who act like things are going swimmingly, which there are plenty of people who are, you can't ignore the fact that this has been handled in the poorest possible way. Now, there's also been another poll that was done by UMass Amherst. It's a national poll. And what this poll came across was most Americans find the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case by the Trump administration as being handled pretty poorly. According to this poll, 70% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the Epstein case, with 63% believing his administration is hiding key information. 70% of respondents said Trump is mishandling the Epstein files, while nearly 2/3 believe his administration is actively concealing critical information. Even more telling, 81% of those who suspect a cover-up blame Trump directly, as per reports. The backlash is causing a significant drop in President Trump's overall approval rating, which is now 38%, a 6-point drop from April. The data reflects broader voter concerns, particularly among those who supported Trump on his promise to expose the so-called deep state. However, many believe that he has done the exact opposite. 59% of respondents familiar with the Epstein case believe Trump and the late financier were once, quote unquote, good friends. That belief is fueling speculation and intensifying calls for transparency. So these are some of the numbers that we've seen from this UMass poll. That being said, though, again, total transparency from your old pal Ant and this podcast here, there are still shockingly 21% that strongly approve of the president's handling of this case. That would be, let me translate that for you. 21% strongly approve of his handling of this case, which means 21% of people that took this poll are completely brain dead, or they are so hard fanboying out over the president that they can't get out of their own way. Now, I would love it if they had their own nieces, nephews, children, grandchildren in the room with Jeffrey Epstein and take this poll and see how they fucking feel. That's what I'd like to do. You know, if you were the 21% that strongly approve the way that President Trump is handling the Epstein case here, then you should have to put the children of your family in a room with Ghislaine Maxwell and some of her buddies for a couple hours. That's what I believe. That's how I would conduct that poll. Oh, you do believe that you do approve? Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you bring your grandchildren to Ghislaine Maxwell's house for a day and leave them there? How do you feel about the thing now? Okay, that's what I thought. 17% of respondents somewhat approve. Those are at least the people that know they're doing wrong and want to be honest, but don't feel that they can whack their own president. So 38% of the respondents are not on the negative side. 49% strongly disapprove, 9% somewhat disapprove, 4% answered that they were unsure. So those are the total numbers put together there. I don't know who can strongly approve of this. I mean, it's been a shit show from the get-go. If I could use a politically correct term. Shit show, I believe, is a politically correct term. The same prison that Ghislaine Maxwell is now in, Elizabeth Holmes is there. She's the founder of, was it Theranos, a fraudulent blood testing company? She's serving an 11-year sentence. There's also, they got a Real Housewife there. I had it written down who it was now, but I can't find it. I can't find it in my notes. But they got a Real Housewife there. So it just goes to show you, it's a complete and total joke. And again, I implore you that the largest operator of a child sex trafficking ring, his assistant to the regional manager, Ghislaine Maxwell, is now amongst the Real Housewives criminals without offense. And they tried to mask it up and cover it up. So it's fine. Everything is going just fine. Just ignore all of this. It's totally fine. Nothing else to see here in regards to that whole thing. And still no real strong response from the president other than, you know, him trying to pick a fight with Charlemagne the God. Which I appreciate Charlemagne the God, but I wish sometimes there are some people, and again, I respect Charlemagne the God. I respect Theo Vaughn. I respect, obviously, Joe Rogan. I respect Andrew, what's his name there? Sorry, I'm blanking on his last name. I respect all these podcasters, but it's so blatantly obvious and clear that they are out of their depth when it comes to discussing some of the political things that are out there in the world and some of the more serious things. Like, I love that comedians are getting involved in everything and that they're taking a bigger hand. I think much to the chagrin of their own careers. I'm not entirely sure. I have a feeling they're taking a beating. But sometimes you just look at it's just like watching an amateur go into a professional heavyweight fight, like an amateur lightweight going into a professional heavyweight fight. It's like, I know you can box, but you don't belong in that particular ring, you know? So I wish Charlemagne the God sometimes would, you know, take a break from doing some of these bigger, I think he was on Fox News doing a hit there, but whatever. He's doing the best he can. It's just, again, you could just see sometimes some of these guys are fighting a bit above their weight class a little bit, you know? Christella says, the camp is in a residential neighborhood. Ghislaine will be on the street recruiting girls. There's no fence. Do you know what I mean? Christella, there's no fence. So yeah, I mean, business neighborhood, residential neighborhood, like there's no fence. I get your point. Christella makes an amazing point. But the point I go back to is there's no fence. There's no guard, like there's no checking in, there's no checking IDs. Like, she could wander off and they probably wouldn't know for a few hours. You know what I mean? So it's fucking frightening. And everybody is just walking around this administration like it's business as usual, you know? But there's Republicans that are pleading with the president not to give her a pardon. How is this even part of the conversation? And they've asked the president about it, and he said no. His response should be, in no uncertain terms ever, whatsoever, is my administration going to give her a pardon. That should be the answer. In no uncertain terms. The president should be like, if I take a heart attack and JD Vance takes over, and he's tragically killed in an accident, and the next person takes over, none of those subsequent presidents should give her a pardon ever. That should be the response in the strongest terms possible. You know, in the strongest terms possible. There's nothing stopping her from just walking out of that prison. Absolutely nothing. Stronger criminals than her, actually I should say weaker criminals than her, have gotten out of stronger prisons than the one that she is in right now. This is a fucking joke of epic proportions. And the fact that this isn't the first headline on all the 6 o'clock news outlets today is fucking disgusting. ESPN hired a lifestyle blogger, a social media influencer that got more press than the government moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a camp and they tried to hide it. People are all like, can you believe they hired a blonde female for ESPN? Like they are shocked that it's not just some crusty old anchor looking news person to work at ESPN. Like, that got more heat today than this did. You know, it's just, I can't even. By the way, I want to wish Meghan Markle a happy birthday, because nobody deserves a happier birthday than our gal, Meghan Markle. We will be cutting a cake at the end of the show. Ice cream cake all around for everybody. Everybody's going to get a big slice. And if you're like, whoa, are we really going to get a cake? Know that I'm paying the best tribute I can to Meghan Markle by just saying shit that sounds nice. And I'll delete this all later. But I want to wish her a happy birthday. Lord knows she's provided us with so much entertainment over the last couple of months, and we would be nowhere without her. By the way, can somebody check on JBT? Has he responded yet? Because that motherfucker went silent. What happened? I don't understand what happened. I fired back. I called him out for his bullshit. Her show came out that it was 383rd. Nobody watched it ever. Netflix decided not to renew her. And I haven't heard from a man in a while. I miss JTB or JBT or PVC. I forget what his fucking name was, but that guy had a lot of swagger. I liked him. I don't know what happened to him. It must be tough to be one of these creators. I always felt bad for the cable news people. Like if I was Cuomo or Lemon or even Hannity, I couldn't go in there every day and be like, what happened? How can I swing this towards my own audience? I couldn't do it. I could not lock myself into that box. This guy's out there trying to prove that everything that Meghan Markle does is great. That's even tougher. That's even harder to do than what Hannity and Lemon and all those guys do. So kudos to PVC, because that guy, he's out there slugging it out every day. He's picking fights every day for people, and he's got the biggest fucking loser in his corner that anybody's ever seen. But happy birthday to Meghan Markle. Send that clip to JBC. JTB, JBT. I always get it confused because I am a big fan of the John Butler Trio. I forget what his fucking name is. I think it's PVC or CVS. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. I have to talk about this because thank you, Rhonda. You know what, Rhonda? Let's take a second to recognize how nice I am. Thank you. You know, nobody gives me enough credit. A lot of people call me meanie. A lot of people call me a misogynist, a racist. Fat bastard, very hurtful things. I get a lot of hurtful things from the Meghan. Oh, you had to see the Meghan crowd today. I've tried to stop looking at the comments, but there was one person that was so fucking out of it. I mean, so out of it. Hold on. Let me see if I could track it down here. Hold on. Wait, just because I know you guys don't track the comments, nor should you. I don't want you to be, so one person, all right, this is not the big one I was talking about, but one person said under one of our videos that Meghan and Harry had been canceled, and one of their delusional fans said, who said they were canceled? It wasn't Netflix. You're just hoping. It was fucking Netflix that announced that they are not renewing their deal. That's why I do what I do, because there's sad people out there that they just never get the news. And they're living under the pretense that she's like doing all these great things. It's not anything different than the propaganda that the Nazis used. I'm not calling her a Nazi. I'm just saying the one-sidedness with her fans is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's worse than the MAGA people. I know Frank would hate me for saying that, but it's fucking worse than the MAGA people. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Claudette Smith, 25, wrote, "You're such a dude. Go get a job and stop talking about her to make money." And then she put a poop emoji, which I just found hilarious. And then I just apologized to Claudette Smith, 25. I just apologized to her. I said, sorry to reveal the truth about your hero. Like, sorry. I think it was the story. I can't even remember what this story was. Maybe it was the cancellation of the show. I don't know. There was another one the other day that was a barn burner. One person said, why don't you leave this lady alone? Talk about yourself. I think I talk about myself way too much. Oh, shit. There was one they really dug into me. All right. I don't want you guys to all just be sitting around waiting. And this is not about Meghan Markle. We're focused on celebrating her birthday. And I would be happy to wish her a happy 39th or 42nd or whatever birthday it is. But I know that too is probably a lie. You know, Meghan is the type of person, she shaved 3 to 5 years off her age, probably like 10 years ago, and she is sticking with that lie. We will never know how old that woman is. Never. We will never know how old Meghan Markle is if that is her real name. You know what I'm saying? If that is her real name. But anyway, happy birthday. I hope she gets an ice cream cake. I got my daughter an ice cream cake for her birthday with her picture on it. So suck that, Meghan Markle. I have to confess something to you. Bird says, Mercury says, good apology. Bird says, what a backhanded apology. That's about as all I could muster up, Bird. So I apologize. This is a real apology. I apologize to Bird if the apology didn't reach the standards that she's accustomed to. But that is literally the best I can muster up for our pal Meghan. So I'm going to have to live with letting you down, Bird. And I apologize for that. Okay. Your old pal Aunt had a few too many to drink last Saturday night and maybe a couple of other things. And I found myself in my kitchen eating part of my daughter's ice cream cake at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was bad. It was bad. It was the first time I fell off the wagon since I started eating healthy back in April. I feel horrible about it. I feel like I've let you all down, even though I know hilariously none of you really give a shit. But I feel like I need to confess it because it was bad. Now, I've had ice cream before. Cuddles and I took the kids out to celebrate end of the school year or something like that. And we got an ice cream and I took a couple spoonfuls. But that was like a conscious thing. I was like, we got a sorbet. Not that that's better, but I was like, oh, we'll take a couple spoonfuls. It'll be fine. No, this was like old school Aunt, like standing in the kitchen over the sink, just fucking hounding down ice cream cake. It was bad. It was really, really bad. I appreciate all the kind words in there, but I need to say this. I need to shade myself publicly so I don't fall back into that trap. 51 pounds down, by the way. Okay, enough about me. Alien Probe, and bless you all for saying nice things to me. Thank you. I really appreciate the support. I really, really do. And I appreciate the kind words about the cheating and stuff like that, but I really feel like a crack addict. Like I can't just go and do a little hit of coke. Like I can't. Like I will be running down Main Street naked looking for more drugs. Like I just cannot, I can't handle it. So I would appreciate it more if you treated me like you were a Meghan Markle fan right now and gave me the business so that I would feel worse about what I did. And then we could all move on with everything. Okay. Alien Probe. So lots of people are speculating there's this object that is just literally hurling towards Earth. And people haven't really been talking about it for too long. It's called 3I Atlas. It's the third recorded interstellar object to enter the solar system. And people are just all up in arms calling it an alien probe when in reality, I mean, I guess it could be, but most scientists, the consensus that they're coming to, it is likely a comet. In July 2025, scientists discovered, so this is just last month, scientists discovered a mysterious intergalactic object that was most likely an alien ship that could reach Earth by November 2025. Rumors of that incoming alien attack had some social media feeds in late July 2025 after the New York Post published an article about a potential alien probe. Thanks to the New York Post for being shining citizens of the journalistic community. The article only said the object in question could be an alien probe. Posts on social media described the situation as more alarming. That's kind of what happens. Like one person moves it an inch this way, and then the next person moves it an inch that way, and then it's like a game of telephone. Before you know it, everybody's like, did you hear about the alien probe coming on Tuesday? There was an Instagram post that had 15,000 likes that warned of an intergalactic object that was most likely an alien ship heading towards Earth. A similar Facebook post had 12,000 reactions, sarcastically saying an astrophysicist was certain the object was an alien ship. Most wackadoos on TikTok and X and everything else are proclaiming that it is like this alien ship. It's mysterious in that we didn't know it was coming. Like most of the time we can see shit like 40 years out. Like, oh, we've been able to, see different comets or whatever coming in our direction. The fact that we didn't see this one is what is so alarming about it. And the fact that we don't have a lot of time or have had a lot of time to study it is what is causing all of this craze. But scientists did not warn that it's an intergalactic object or most likely or certainly an alien ship. Again, the overwhelming scientific consensus was that the object is likely an interstellar comet. A few scientists published a paper analyzing a theoretical argument that it could be an alien ship, but even the paper's authors believe it most likely to be a comet. It was July 1st when scientists discovered 3I Atlas, an interstellar object. NASA and the European Space Agency have both called a comet. An interstellar object, by the way, is one that travels between star systems, hundreds of billions of which can be found in the Milky Way galaxy alone. An intergalactic object travels between galaxies, and therefore such an object by definition must originate outside of the Milky Way. The idea that the object was an alien ship came from misunderstandings and misrepresentations. So we are not getting an alien probe anytime soon, much to the chagrin of a lot of people. Believe me, I wish we were. I wish I could sit here and tell you we're getting an alien probe. I'll be honest, I'm tired of the humans that we have. I've had enough with humanity, and I would love to just chop it up with some aliens. Even at the danger of total annihilation. I am willing to risk our entire planet just to have something else to look forward to, because the humans with their my side, your side, this and that, I can't take it anymore. I'm so bored with humans. It's disgusting. All of them and their bullshit and their politics and their cuckolding and all this and that. I need something new. We need to spice it up a little bit, right? Don't you agree? It's a little boring. It's a little boring right now. It's a little boring. And I would love it if we were like, look at these 14 finger motherfuckers coming. Let's see what they have to say. Let's talk with them a little bit. Let's see what their whole deal is. Somebody's gonna have to volunteer to explain MAGA to them though, because I don't even know. I haven't wrapped my hands around that whole entire thing, either. I still don't get the utter obsession and love. I get the defense. I get the feeling like there needs to be a defensive posture at all times from the Democrats. I get that. I just couldn't lie to myself like that. You know what I'm saying? I could not. I've never in my life supported anybody as much as they support Trump. Maybe Dave Matthews, but he's never let me down like this. I've never seen Dave Matthews just out and out like fall apart. You know what I'm saying? And me be like, no, he's still great. Like I know where Dave's weaknesses are, and I love him still, but I acknowledge his weaknesses. Anyway, no alien probe. So sorry to everybody that was looking forward to getting probed, if you will. I have to talk about MrBeast. Again, I feel like there's so much shitty people in the world that when you come across somebody who has really accomplished a lot, it needs to be shared. And MrBeast is one of those people. Pop this up for everybody on the old screen-a-rooski here. He put out this post. Oh, that's not big enough. Boy, we still haven't fixed this screen size thing. See, that's too much ant. Let's go this way with it. We don't need to see me that much. There we go. So MrBeast put this out with the caption, "This is what every YouTube play button looks like." So for those of you who are unfamiliar, a YouTube play button is what you get when you cross X amount of subscribers, starting with that little tiny one down there at 100K, which we are slowly making our way to, very slowly. We're about a third of the way there on YouTube, but you get a bigger gold one for 1 million. Then there was like a diamond one for 10 million. And what's amazing about this is a lot of these were made for him. Some of these were given out to other people. I forget, PewDiePie. Whatever happened to PewDiePie? I'm going to look him up. PewDiePie got a couple of these before MrBeast, but I think MrBeast is the reigning champion right now. I don't think we have more subscribers than 400 million. And so they literally had to start inventing shit. Like, for instance, the one at 200 million, you're like, that doesn't look like a play button. That's actually MrBeast's logo at the 200 million mark. And I think he was the first one to hit that, which is why they gave him a fully customizable logo version of it. And then he just kept going for 300 million and 400 million. I know for people who don't worship YouTube, you might be like, who gives a shit? But may I remind you that there are less than 400 million Americans. I think our population is somewhere around 365 million people. So MrBeast has more subscribers than there are Americans walking this planet. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. And I don't know if it's China or India who has, like, I think they both have over 1 billion people, but he's kind of got them in his sights now. I mean, we could be sitting here one day talking about MrBeast has more subscribers than China has people or India has people. He could be the first billion subscriber, you know. I think we're all going to get to the point where we rename Earth MrBeast Land because we'll all be subscribed. Who's not subscribed to MrBeast right now? I actually don't even know if I am. I might not be. But you got to look at 400 million going, I'm not subscribed. What's wrong with me? What did I do? What am I missing here? I watch a lot of MrBeast now because my kids watch him. And that's something that we can do together. If you have children, get them onto MrBeast because there's not much children programming that you can truly enjoy like MrBeast. And he does the wackiest things too. Like my daughter and I watched this thing the other day where he found some father of 2 or 3, married guy. And he's like, why don't you live in this house for 4 months? And you can't leave. He put a big red circle around this house. He literally lifted in a house. It wasn't like a house somewhere. It was just like an empty field. And they brought a house in. They put a big red circle around it. And they go, if you don't go outside of that red circle for like 3 months, we'll give you like I think they gave him $500,000, which is amazing. So he had to live in this house by himself. Which you might think, oh, I could do that. But then they kind of did all this shit to like mess with him. Like, I think a week in or like a day or 2 in or whatever, after he was by himself for a little while, he was like, I'll give you $100,000 to leave right now. I was like, I might have taken that. Or like 30 days in, they offered him $100,000. Like, what would you do? Imagine living by yourself for, and by the way, I think there's lots of ways to torture human beings. Let me come back up again here. There's lots of ways to torture human beings, but I think us being alone is literally one of the worst tortures you could ever have. Like solitary confinement is the worst thing in prison for a reason, you know? And this guy lived by himself for a month and they offered him $100,000 and he didn't take it. Like that's kind of tough. And he was without his kids. MrBeast did let his kids come and visit him for Father's Day, which I thought was really kind. But then, like, with a week left, he put, I forget what it was, like a bunch of geese or something, or chipmunk. He put some, like, loud noise thing outside. Oh, he put speakers outside at first, but then the guy went and poured water on all the speakers, so he didn't have to listen to the shit that was coming out of the speakers. But then he put something else outside. Then he cut the house in half And I was like, oh, is he going to put a tarp on it? No. So it just was raining, and it was like raining water in the guy's house. Oh, he gave him all the food to survive the 3 months in the beginning. So he had to like portion all his food out for 3 months. Do you know how dead I would be? I'd be dead. Who wouldn't have just died immediately? Like, he had to sit there and like portion out pasta and cereal and all that stuff. Like, I mean, it's fucking crazy. He had like little things to occupy himself, but no internet, no phone, no like just books to read and everything like that. Actually sounds like a nice vacation to me when I think about it. Coming off my daughter's party with 15 screaming girls seems kind of crazy. But yeah, the dude, he's just created this amazing content. He does all sorts of charitable stuff. I don't know if he's a really shitty person underneath it all. That you always say nice things about somebody. They're like, oh yeah, did you know he was a racist 10 years ago? I don't fucking know. But I like his stuff. I like watching everything. Out of everything that my kids put on, which is a lot, that's the only thing where I'm like, okay, I could sit here and watch this with you guys and really be like engaged and into it. Because it's kind of fascinating to see some of the challenges that he does. You know, an old radio bit that I didn't do once, but I took part in. They used to do this back in the 70s where a car dealership, you'd pick like 10 listeners and they'd go and put their hand on a car. This was like a big radio thing back in the day. And then the last person standing with their hand on the car won the car. And it would be this thing that would go on for days or sometimes weeks of people just fucking standing there. I think after a while they made you stand, but some people would let you just sit. But like, you can't fall asleep. You fall asleep, your hand falls off the car, you're out, you know? So they would do all this crazy stuff, and they would try and offer people stuff to take their hands off the car and all that stuff. Like, he's taken that old school radio contesting craziness vibe, like when radio was really cutting edge, and is just shot it up with steroids and made it so much bigger, you know? And he should be applauded for that. So I think it's pretty cool that he's got a 400 million subscriber button. Obviously, we're looking at somebody who's at the top of their game and is just, wildly entertaining. Yeah, Rhonda, he did, like Rhonda said, he did that too. Yeah, he's, I don't know. A lot of these things are original now, but in the beginning they weren't. And, I saw back when he had like 1 million subscribers, he went on an old creator that I used to love. If you love vlogs, Casey Neistat 10 years ago was such a master YouTuber of vlogs. He's slowed down a lot lately, but still an interesting guy. Filmmaker, used to have a TV show on HBO. Casey Neistat had MrBeast come on, and MrBeast was just this young kid. And they were doing these little bits, and he was saying like he started his YouTube channel as a video game channel and it wasn't really working, and then they started doing these little like stunts and things like that, and he started to get a little traction. And he said somebody contacted him, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically he was like, somebody contacted him and was like, hey, we want to give you $10,000 if you mention our product on your YouTube channel. And he was like a young kid, young. And he said, okay. He's like, but I'm going to give away your $10,000 in the video. Like, what person struggling to find their ground as a YouTube creator finally makes it to a point where they're getting 10 grand and goes, I know, I'll just give it all away. And that's what he did. And that's how he really first initially started to make his jump, because everything that he took in money-wise from sponsors, he would just give it away. And so you would see all these crazy things of like, we gave this person $10,000. We gave this person $50,000. And eventually it was like $100,000. And the more he started getting, the more crazy and elaborate his giveaways became, the more viewers and subscribers he got. So it's a really heartwarming, lovely, story of somebody just rising to the top of their field and dominating. So kudos to MrBeast for that. When he shared that earlier today, I wanted to make that a top 3 story because I feel like it's important to have some positivity in the world. I mean, when you look at the other shit that's on here, it could get pretty rough. The Obama official grand jury probe couple weeks ago, we discussed the head of the whatchamacallit, what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard, the head of the intelligence community. We talked about her releasing that infographic instead of all the actual documents that she pulled together, proving that there was conspiracy to take out Donald Trump after he had won the election regarding the Russia interference in the election. And I announced that on a Friday. She was set to go on Hannity later on that night. So when we went on the air, Frank, Paul, a lot of people gave me a lot of shit for sharing that story, but it was a story nonetheless. When the head of the intelligence community says that a former president did this, it needs to be discussed, talked about, and covered. And I said, let's give her the weekend to produce the documents. I saw one document that was produced that showed that there was nothing one day, and then the next day there was something. Didn't really prove the conspiracy to me, but okay. And she has turned over this supposed evidence, again, that we have not publicly seen yet in its entirety, to the Department of Justice and to Congress. And now the New York Post has learned that the Obama administration officials who have allegedly conspired in this conspiracy during the 2016 election campaign, they are going, and that is, by the way, it's, let me see here. It is former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former FBI Director James Comey. It's not clear at the moment whether or not a grand jury would be based in Washington, D.C. or elsewhere, but they have basically a federal grand jury investigation has begun into this probe that was started by Tulsi Gabbard. The current president and Tulsi called for this federal probe. Although it has already been acknowledged that because of the moves that President Trump made, President Obama cannot be prosecuted. He will be immune from prosecution because of that 2024 Supreme Court ruling. But the president has accused the former officials of treasonous and seditious conspiracy to undermine his first-term agenda, which ultimately led to more than 2 years of leaky investigations before special counsel Robert Mueller turned up no evidence of collusion. Fox News first reported the grand jury investigation, which faces significant hurdles due to statutes of limitations for certain offenses. So, in other words, even if they do this, it's not going to go anywhere because of the statute of limitations. Again, it feels like a gigantic distraction from the Epstein thing. I don't know. And Tulsi Gabbard, I feel like, is a person of integrity. I don't think anybody would argue with me that Tulsi Gabbard is a far larger person of integrity than our president. I think a lot of people, Democrats alike, would admit that Tulsi Gabbard has more integrity than President Trump. For whatever reason, she's either going along with this or she really believes she has the evidence to prove it. But again, when you look at, like was pointed out by Fox, the hurdles to go through because of the statutes of limitation, I don't know if there's really a purpose to this or if anything is going to come from it. And there might be some on the right that are saying, hey, you know, even if you only get one of them and you get it on this or whatever, it's probably worth it. Okay, then fine. But I think we're going to look at something here that's probably a huge waste of resources. And let's all be honest with each other. After what the Democrats did, right or wrong, to the current president of the United States, convicting him of everything, he's still the president of the United States. For all that was put into all of those things, you have to look at it at the end of the day and go, was this worth it? The guy won again. Was it all really worth it? I mean, think about it. Do you guys feel, for the people who hate the president, do you feel any better that he was convicted? Is it any better for you? Because I don't know if it was really worth it all at the end of the day. you know. And I mean, you could obviously sound off in the comments and in the live chat. I'd love to hear your chatter on it. But if you're asking me if we had to go back and do it all over again, I would say save all the taxpayers' money. Let's put it towards something that's useful, because it really went nowhere. And the president was on Newsmax the other day, and he basically revealed his innermost feelings on this. So we discussed this earlier in the month here, or last month. He let Hillary Clinton off the hook, and he said it. I'll read you the quote. "I let Hillary off the hook. I let her off the hook for what? And then I come in and they did the same thing to me. The difference is they actually meant it, and they hurt a lot of people, and it was all a hoax." I think that's an honest Trump moment. I think he's pissed off and burned because he could have continued to go after Hillary, even if he didn't have anything with the emails or whatever. They could have continued the witch hunt. They could have continued with hearings and grand jury testimony and probes and all that stuff. They could have done all that, and they didn't. He let it go and he moved on. And I think it burns his ass to this day that he did that. I think he regrets doing that. You know, I don't think you get a lot of regrets from Trump. I think that's one of his big regrets, that he let Hillary off the hook. Because if he had the chance to, he would run Hillary into the ground right now. Back then, it was like, I beat her. It's already done. It's over with. She was embarrassed. She was, humiliated. And he felt like there was nothing else to do there. Now I think he's learned his lesson. I think he's going to exact the revenge on Obama and his administration that he didn't take on Hillary. And let's be honest. Can you blame him? Again, I wish he was better. I wish he would just rise above it and be like, there's nothing here. This isn't going to result in anything. It's going to be a waste of taxpayers' time. But we live in a world of Democrat versus Republican. And we live in a world where both those sides do horrific things to each other, and we suffer. The people suffer. But everybody roots for their side and thinks the other side is so much worse. And so the vicious cycle just continues. You know, everybody's sitting there right now thinking, no, my side's better than the other side. And I can't. Half of this audience is on each side, and I can't convince anybody anything different. So the vicious cycle will just continue. I don't know what they're going to find in this. Maybe there is something. Maybe Comey or Clapper goes down. Comey and Clapper, by the way, sounds like a great morning show. Like that, the Comey and Clapper show sounds like something that could go number one in Wisconsin, in Green Bay especially, and people would just be fucking eating it up. They'd be like, did you hear what Comey and Clapper did? They're going to have people stand and hold their hand on a car until somebody wins it. It's fucking amazing. I just want to, I'm going to get a shirt that says King of Callbacks. I really feel like, you could say entertaining, informative, confused, call me whatever you like. But the callback game here is strong in this one. You have to admit that. I pulled that one out of my ass. It was surprising to me, even. Point is this. Maybe they get one of these former dopes to go down and they feel better about themselves. I don't know. Maybe Gabbard really does have something there. Was President Obama in on it? I highly doubt it. And I'll tell you why I highly doubt it from my Republican friends that are going to call me an asshole. I don't think Obama ever loved Hillary. I really, really don't. I think Obama was beating the pants off of Hillary in the primary. Hillary and him got together. They had that secret meeting. We've talked about this before. Obama agreed to make her the Secretary of State to placate her, to allow her to be the next one in line after him. Because what did he give a shit? He was going to be president for 8 years. He knew he had it in the bag. He was being the gracious winner by allowing Hillary an opportunity after he went. I don't think Obama ever was like, who we have to invite to the next barbecue is that Hillary Clinton. She's just such a ball of laughs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he ever really enjoyed her or wanted her around. I think he stood up for her. I think he supported her as a fellow Democrat. I think he was happy to endorse her. I obviously think he obviously had an axe to grind with Trump over all the birth certificate things and all that bullshit that Trump's, spawned up at the time, but I don't think that Obama was like, oh my God, Hillary is so great. I don't think Hillary was his choice. And I think even though the Democrats made a deal to make Hillary the next person, I think it was Biden back then. If Biden didn't pull out, I think Biden was Obama's choice back then. But Biden didn't want it because of his son, the cancer and everything. He moved away from it. He stepped away from it, But anyway, that's what I think. I think could one of these guys go down? Does she have something? Perhaps, maybe, possibly, maybe. But at the end of the day, is it going to change anybody's life? No, it's really not. And what really pisses me off is they're going to use it to distract everybody from the fact that they still haven't put all the Epstein information out there, and they're still protecting the string pullers that are calling the shots, because it's clearly not this president of the United States that's calling the shots. Clearly not. Here's what's going on down in Texas, talking about losing your mind. So they're trying to redraw the state's congressional maps. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this. I haven't really been looking at this too much. But today, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, ordered state authorities to arrest dozens of House Democrats who fled to Illinois and New York rather than stay to vote on redrawing those states' congressional maps. Abbott said in a statement, Texas House Democrats abandoned their duty to Texans. By fleeing the state, Texas House Democrats are holding hostage critical legislation to aid flood victims and advance property tax relief. There are consequences for dereliction of duty. Moments before that announcement, the Texas House of Representatives voted 85-6 to approve a motion to call for the Democrats to come back. House Speaker Dustin Burrows subsequently directed the chamber's sergeant at arms to send for all absentees under warrant of arrest if necessary. Abbott proclaimed, to ensure compliance, I ordered the Texas Department of Public Safety to locate, arrest, and return to the House chamber any member who has abandoned their duty to Texans. This order will remain in effect until all missing Democrat House members are accounted for and brought to the Texas Capitol. So he's saying that they can be arrested, not taken to prison, but rather taken back to the Capitol to vote on this legislation. 57 absent Texas Democrats went to Chicago, where a bunch of them joined Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker Sunday night at DuPage County Democratic Party headquarters. Pritzker said of the Republican-led efforts to redraw Texas House maps, they are attempting to cheat in the election. Half a dozen more joined Governor Kathy Hochul in Albany today, where Governor Hochul said of the Texas Democrats abandoning Austin before calling Abbott an un-American person and accusing him of rigging the next congressional election for the GOP. If this is what's called for, then that's what's called for. Governor Hochul argued, to subvert the will of the people, they're hell-bent on rigging the system. Rigging the system is un-American. Congressional districts are never drawn mid-decade. You're wondering, what's the hubbub over all of this redrawn maps? The redrawn maps in Texas could net Republicans as many as 5 additional seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, potentially allowing the GOP to expand its narrow majority in the 2026 midterms. Certainly a very sneaky maneuver. So somebody in Texas, I probably would assume it's not Governor Abbott, but he's been the one that's taking the horns and getting all the credit for it, decided that, hey, if we just redraw the districts here a little bit, we can sneak in a couple of more Republicans into the U.S. House of Representatives than Democrats. I don't know any other way to say this other than it's flat out cheating and it's blatantly obvious. I think our districts have been drawn and I don't really see a reason to redraw them. People move, people come in and out of districts. Districts go from red to purple to blue, from blue to purple to red all of the time. To just I don't know what else to call this other than blatantly cheating. I mean, you can put it under the guise of, well, we have tax issues to deal with, or there has to be flood relief, given out and all that kind of stuff. Well, maybe, but it's also going to give you 5 more representatives in Congress than you would have gotten. That's cheating. And this isn't cheating because it's like, oh, the Republicans are doing something wrong. I don't want this to happen from a standpoint of, if the Republicans do it in Texas, what's going to stop the Democrats from doing it in California? What's going to stop the New Yorkers from doing the Democrats from doing it in New York? And then what are we going to go on? A map redrawing spree? I don't often agree with Governor Hochul, but she made a good point in that if they can do it in Texas, we can do it in New York. And then what's to stop us? What's to stop us? What's to stop them from that happening? So again, the reason why I hate this more than anything is not just because the Republicans are going to work out an advantage here. It's because I'm afraid this is going to set a precedent that for the next 20 fucking years, all these states are going to be redrawing lines to try and sneak out an advantage for the party of whoever their governor is at the time. And that is going to be a massive waste of time. A massive waste of time. You realize how many gigantic overarching issues we have as a society? We have technology moving at an incredible pace where I don't see a reason for 40% of the job force that we have now that is eventually going to be able to be done and handled by AI. What the hell is society going to look at? Can we focus on that stuff? Can we focus on figuring out a way not to get edged out by China and Russia or India or Scandinavia or Italy or England or whoever the fuck else, Canada, whoever else is in on the hunt for the AI supremacy? Can we figure out a way to edge out those countries so that we don't become massive losers and beholden to some other country, while also simultaneously making sure that we can take care of our people? Because once we don't need 40% of this workforce, what does our economy look like? What does society look like when people don't have to go to work for a living? What does that look like when doctors' work is being done by an AI computer, and maybe even better than, because it doesn't have human error? What does that look like? What does it look like? Because right now, let's say a doctor can see 10 patients in a day, right? And you got 5 doctors in a practice or shit like that. What happens when a doctor can use AI to pre-screen people, just review the information and move on from there? You could have one doctor seeing 150 people in a day, and then we don't need any more doctors. How does economies and money and society, how does that work? These are things that we need our government focused on, not, I think we can sneak out 5 more for my fucking, so my side can win. Fucking loser assholes. It drives me fucking crazy. I know they're politicians, but god damn it, can't they just act like leaders for 5 fucking minutes for the rest of us? I mean, it's disturbing, the issues that we have on our horizon, and they're just acting like, we'll figure it out. We'll get there eventually. Let's redraw the state line so we can get a tiny advantage. Like, California is not going to fucking respond in a year or two or a week or two. Stupid fucking. Let me tell you something. That Abbott, I'll tell you what. I felt bad for him that he was in a wheelchair, but I wish somebody would just push that fucking thing right off a goddamn cliff and just save us all the time and effort. the collision course that he is sending us down by doing this amazingly stupid shit. And more than anything else, the president of the United States and some fucking human being should just step up and go, I appreciate what you're trying to do for the party, but don't. Let's not. Thanks, but no thanks. Let's keep the level of corruption that we've all become comfortable to where it is. We don't have to fucking take it up a notch and then try and all outdo each other. I don't know, but let's blast Josh Hawley for going across the aisle to try and get money out of politics for fucking 5 minutes. That's the right move. Anyway, Stephen Colbert's new gig. I know people are upset that Stephen Colbert got pushed out. I know everybody wants to blame the president of the United States for that. I don't think it was that. The more I start to think about this, I think it was the economics of the situation. As I've said before, Jimmy Fallon got an extension to 2028 on his deal, but they took a cut. They had big budget cuts over at The Tonight Show. I was just talking to somebody that is familiar with the situation, and they were like, no, we lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of resources. By the way, we talked about this at the time, too. They went from 5 days a week to 4. Now, Letterman used to tape Monday through Thursday, and he would tape 2 shows on a Thursday. So they were still pumping out the shows. But The Tonight Show right now only does 4 days a week. I don't know what airs. I don't know if they just air a repeat or whatever they air on Friday night, but it's not a live new episode. So that's taken a hit. The guy after Fallon, I forget his name, Fallon Light, I like to call him. Fuck is his name? Stephen Miller? No, that's the Fly Like an Eagle guy. Seth Meyers. I was close with Stephen Miller, actually, believe it or not. Seth Meyers lost his band, which the 1230 guy doesn't need a fucking band anymore. You know what I mean? That he doesn't need a band anymore. But anyway, Colbert has found his next gig. He's going to be acting on the CBS show Elsbeth. I thought this was a misspelling for Elizabeth, but I think Elsbeth is like a thing. Elsbeth. He's going to be playing somebody's boyfriend or something who happens to be a late night talk show host. So the point is, I got 2 points here. If Trump was really ass burned and wanted to get him out, I don't know if he would allow CBS to give him another gig where he's essentially playing himself on a primetime show. I don't know if it's going to be like a one-time deal or a little bit of a run, or he'll be a recurring character. I'm not sure. That information might be out there. Frankly, I didn't give a fuck as much to spend 5 more minutes researching this, but he's going to be on CBS still. So it's like, it's not a vendetta against him. You could count that as a win for Trump. He loses his show. All right, let him get this thing. But knowing Trump, I don't think he would want that to happen. So that's the first reason why I think this was primarily financial and not so much having to do with an ask to get that merger approved for everybody who's so super upset about that kind of stuff. The second thing I want to say about this is when you look at the economics of that situation and how much it costs to put on one of these shows and the rise of podcasts, I've really honed in on this. The first network to put a podcast on that late night time slot at 11:30 will be the network that wins. The first one. So Fallon is signed till 2028. ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, I don't know what their deal is too, but they're pretty committed to him. CBS has a wild opportunity. And by the way, if Colbert, here's my second point. If Colbert was so valuable, why didn't Fox try and scoop him up? You know, there was a time where every network, Fox, TBS, they all tried to get late night shows, right? Why isn't TBS scrounging around for Colbert? Why isn't, well, I get why Comedy Central isn't. They're still Paramount. But if there's money to be made with Colbert, if he is such a draw, why didn't anybody else try and scoop up his late night talk show? It's because, like Matt is saying in the live chat, nobody cares about Colbert. Again, they had a rally a couple of weeks ago and 20 people showed up. 20 people showed up. That's crazy. Rest in peace, Broccoli Rob. But my point is this. You look at what ESPN did today with hiring that influencer, which seemed to piss a lot of people off. You look at ESPN reaching out to Pat McAfee, right, who is an outsider, an internet-born personality. You look at Fox for making the deal with Barstool Sports to try and get those content creators on. The only way traditional media survives is by finding a way to work with new media personalities. That's it, because old media has strangled their personalities to death, to the point where they can't do anything, either saying whatever they want, being restricted in that manner, or they've been choked to death by budgets. And these shows have just gotten too bloated. You look at what Joe Rogan, how much Joe Rogan spends on his podcast. I think we might spend just as much. Joe's studio is bigger than mine. I'll grant you that. But the equipment, the system, it's all the same shit. It does not cost. I mean, it costs money, but it doesn't cost what it does to put on a late night show with a band and producers and all this. There's 200, 300 people working for these shows. Most podcasts have one person behind the scenes, maybe two. You know what I mean? So the first network to find a good podcast to put in that spot, that's going to be the podcast. That's going to be the network to win. And I think CBS has that opportunity. I don't know what the fuck Fox is doing. I think Fox would be great at this. Get somebody over there. It could be anybody. You'll never get Joe Rogan. It would be, he doesn't need to do it. You got to get somebody on the up and coming. Andrew, the flagrant guy, could be Tim Dillon. Could be Theo Vaughn. Could be any of these guys that are peaking right now, that are big but still have room to grow. The problem with a lot of the podcast guys nowadays, present company included, they're only doing 2 or 3 a week. Doing 5 shows a week is a different ball game. Trust me, I did it for 15 years. 5 shows a week, 4 hours of material. That's a lot of work. You know what I mean? But I think the first television network to tap a podcast that can captivate people's attention on a nightly basis will be the network that wins, because the cost of doing a podcast is minimal, but it works in our current societal structure. People love this shit. The ones like a lot of you who like to sit there for this long form programming, eat it up. And then the ones who can't, eat up the clips afterwards. And you could do the same amount of entertainment and informing in a podcast format that you can in a late night talk show format. And let's be honest, the late night talk show thing has kind of had its time. It's had its run. Carson, Letterman, Leno, Conan, Kimmel now, and Fallon, it's enough already. Because the problem with that format is nobody wants to sit through the second guest. Nobody gives a shit. Usually the second guest is lucky to be there. Somebody's being done a favor, right? They're plugging a movie. They're buying advertising time. So, all right, get the guest. Okay, we'll give you a second guest slot, right? Usually you just care about that front guest. And then maybe you care about the musical guest or the comedian. And then that's it. Most of the time you're like, I don't really give a shit who this person is. How many people, if they do still tune into these shows, tune in for the monologue and that's it? The drop off on Leno's show from the monologue to guests, it was huge. Nobody stuck around for that. Paul, bite your tongue. If there's a Meghan Markle podcast on late night TV, I'll leave the country. I will pull a Rosie O'Donnell. I'll go in Ireland. I'll have to teach my kids. We're not Italian anymore, kids. We're Irish. All thanks to Meghan Markle. So don't feel so bad for Stephen Colbert. He's got another gig lined up. All right, this is pretty interesting. As a straight man, yeah, boobs. I mean, I think boobs are universal. Straight men love boobs. Women love their own boobs. Women love other women's boobs. Even gay men are kind of like, hey, nice boobs. The boobs are a thing. Boobs are a legit, realistic thing. What I find interesting is you look at the 90s, and it was like the huger the boobs, the better. Like, we can't get bigger boobs in the 90s. You know what I mean? And now people are going smaller. I flashed her up on the screen. I just want to play the audio, though. Nikki Walker is a video journalist for the Wall Street Journal, and she breaks down what's going on in female breast implants.
In 2024, over 300,000 breast augmentations were performed in the US, making it the second most popular cosmetic procedure behind liposuction. And 3 years ago, plastic surgeons said they mostly did implants between 330 to 350 cubic centimeters. But now, those surgeons told the journal the range has shifted to 190 to 250. But while implants might be trending smaller, that doesn't mean they're getting cheaper. For example, this Miami creator said she spent $9,000 to take her one cup size up from her natural A to a subtle B.
Okay. You guys can hear the audio, right? So crazy numbers there. Out of all of the breast implants that were taking place, they've obviously shrunk in size. But it is kind of weird that somebody is going to spend $9,000 to go up one size. That's kind of crazy. That's a lot of money to spend on just like a slight little improvement.
For her, that meant 200 cubic centimeter implants. But in Beverly Hills or New York City, a similar procedure could cost upwards of $20,000. So why a shift towards these tiny boob jobs? For one, experts say the new implants from Motiva have been a game changer because its technology is well suited to be placed above the muscle, which can yield more natural results. And two, in the age of Ozempic, the aspirational feminine physique has shifted away from curvy and voluptuous and towards bodies that are fit, leading many women to downsize their implants.
So isn't that weird? I feel like we try and do everything in today's society to blame it on Ozempic. Have you noticed that? Everybody's just like, it's an Ozempic effect. It must be the Ozempic. So they're saying that because of Ozempic, the curvy and voluptuous is kind of on its way out, and women are going for that more athletic look and thus need smaller hooties, which I find fascinating because I feel like for the last 10 years or so, we have entered the era of the huge hiney. Like, is it, you know what? I was going to say, Cuddles just said Kim Kardashian. I think she's right. Ever since Kim Kardashian hit, it's been gigantic asses. It's been the era of the gigantic ass. I was going to say Cardi B and who's the other one? Megan Thee Stallion?
Not Megan Thee Stallion.
No, there's another girl who's got like a huge caboose. Well, anyway. But I'm wondering, is this me? Who is it? Nicki Minaj. That was it. Yeah, Nicki Minaj. The caboose on her. Like it was the curvy woman's era, recently. And now are we headed towards like the slim time? Because I like a curvy woman. I hope they don't lose too much ground here. But again, I can remember a time where women talked about boob jobs and they were like, the bigger, the better. And there were all these ridiculous things. And, people just getting the size of like my head on their chest is like, it was crazy. It was insane. It was who could get the bigger, the bigger thing. And now they're going for smaller. And like she just said, to go up one cup size and spend $9,000 and to spend $20,000 in New York for that kind of thing. That's nuts. You know, that's pretty nuts. All right. Christella says it's a cycle, and 70s was skinny, 80s was slim with small butt, 90s big boobs, 2000s to now big boobs and butt. I feel like it's been the best era for women in that, again, back in the day, again, when I was younger, so that would be 80s, maybe early 90s, you would get I felt like it was all toothpicks. And now it's like women of all shapes and sizes have been celebrated, which I feel like is like a great thing for acceptance and all that other shit, you know. And now I hope we're not moving away from that, because that whole self-conscious, like, again, I would look at models and be like, these women are not nearly as attractive as most of my classmates' mothers. You know what I'm saying? They got a little extra cushion on them. I never thought just like the skinny malnutrition. It could be a 14-year-old boy's body, but it's on a woman, and all of a sudden they're like, isn't she beautiful and wonderful and, you know, so sexy? And I'm like, oh, she might be beautiful, but sexy, no. Let's throw a couple cheeseburgers down her throat and then see what we got there. But I'm kind of like blown away by this thing. And also, I don't know if you missed it there, but there's a company that's come out with a new fake hooter. And they're saying that because of the technology and that fake hootie, that they can place them better, and there's better, you know, they get better results with it and all that. They don't need to be as big. I was going to go to Matt's comment, but then I decided not to. I don't know. Everybody can read it on the screen, I guess. The French always said the size of a champagne glass. Is that a real thing? Is that a thing? I don't know. I never felt like you needed a huge thing. So I guess it's good from that. But I don't think a boob job, I don't know if are you paying by the ounce or whatever it is? Are you paying by this? I mean, I guess you must be paying a little bit by the size. But it seems like size wouldn't even be the biggest part of that whole thing. You're still going under for surgery. You're still doing whatever. What difference does it make the amount of material you're using? I mean, think about clothing. A small shirt's the same size as a XXX shirt. You know, it's the same price, even though you're using more material for the XXX shirt. But anyway, I thought that was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, why the Wall Street Journal was reporting on it, I don't even know. And two, I know this kind of shit's important to women. You know, I mean, yeah, a guy likes to sit here and talk about hooties, of course. Let's not ignore the obvious. But I know women are self-conscious and they worry about their bodies and, you know, all that kind of jazz. Just so you know, the trend is now smaller is better. That doesn't mean we should take away from our big voluptuous women, though. Still got to have room for those folks in the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try and get Frank to get breast implants just to show that whole, you know, he's big into acceptance. So as soon as the show's over, I'm going to text him and see if he'll go up to a B cup. If everybody's willing to kick in on a GoFundMe, you're going to see if Frank's willing to put his money where his mouth is and get one of those B cups or one of those A cups. I forget. What did she even say was the thing? I don't know. Our thanks to Nikki Weller.
And finally, plastic surgery is no longer considered.
What was her name? Oh, yeah, that was the other thing, too, that plastic surgery is no longer considered taboo.
Many women are opting for what they call ballerina boobs. Let me explain.
Nikki Walker. Weller?
In 2024, over...
Hold on. I'm going to get to it, damn it.
Ballerina boobs.
Nikki Walker. Is that insulting to ballerinas to call it ballerina boobs? Is that because ballerinas traditionally don't have big boobs? So all the training and all that shit?
Over 300,000 breast...
All right. 306,000 breast augmentations produced last year. 306,000. Damn. That's pretty good. I think you should ask Erin that first. Ask Erin what? If we could put boobs on Frank? Paul, I buy XXX and trim off the fabric for gags. That's one of the funniest things you've ever said, Paul. That's pretty hilarious. Hey, Hey, give me that double X. I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to cut it down to a medium. I'm going to cut it down to what I need. I just want to buy the extra material just for kicks, just because I can. Just because I can. All right, we're going to text Frankie C after the show here, see if he'll get a hoodie job. But we're going to have to scrounge up $9,000 somehow. Lindarella, don't encourage him. No, you got to encourage a funny line. Funny line's a funny line. Yeah, that's pretty good. Frank might already have a B cup for all you know. No, Frank's looking solid these days. Frank is looking solid these days. A little too much Snapple, but other than that, he's pretty healthy. So Frank's pretty good. I would just love it just for kicks, just to put ballerina boobs on Frank for just like a couple of months, just to see how it is. Ballerinas have misshapen feet due to slippers. No shit. You ever seen a dancer's feet? If you're disgusted by feet, you cannot date a dancer. It cannot be done. They have the most disgusting, awful feet you have ever seen. Those dancers, they destroy their feet, especially the ballerinas, because they're the ones who stand up on those tippy toes like that. Holy shit. That is some serious. I saw a ballerina's feet close up once. Not even like a professional ballerina, just somebody that was dancing ballet for a while. Nope. You better be ready for that. I don't have a disgust for feet, but I have a normal disgust. And I was like, okay, please put your socks back on. It's good. You know, we're good. We're good here. Matt, I would love to play with the ballerina's boobs for a couple of months. On yourself? Or you just, that's a general statement? You're going to have to clarify that, because that, the way this show operates, you can never tell. You just could never really tell. I think we've run out of shit. I think that's all I had. I feel like I had one other stupid little thing. I can't remember what it was. Did we wish Meghan Markle a happy birthday? I can't remember. I blacked out earlier. I don't know if I did that or not. Let me see. Was there anything else? Oh, you know, Major League Baseball, they did this really cool. This is it. They built a baseball field in the middle of a racetrack, and they had I think the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves play in a game. It was last night. Everybody started calling it a fire fest because they like ran out of beer. They ran out of hot dog buns. Everybody was taking pictures of they were still selling hot dogs, just not in the bun. So you get this like wrapped up, you know, in that like that weird papery tin foil that they have the hot dogs in at a baseball game. People were unwrapping that just to find it was like artificially bloated because there was no hot dog bun in there. It was just the hot dog. And they still kept selling them. And then the people were like, you're still charging me like $12 for a hot dog without the bun? Like, you'd think you'd whack like $3-4 off the price to be like, sorry, there's no bun there. So they were calling it the Fire Festival, which was a shame. And then the game basically had a rain. They rained out. The whole game was like it was just pouring rain the whole time. And I think they played like an inning or a half an inning, just like they forced the players out there just to give the people something. And then they were replaying it today, I think. I don't even know if they got it off the ground today, but it was like such an embarrassing thing for Major League Baseball. It's like you do these things for like hockey has been so successful with the Winter Classic, and they've really done a great job with it. And they've had to deal with some weather. They had snow the first year, which was like just magical, but they've had some rain and other things. They've had to move it from afternoon to night and sometimes from night to afternoon. I think once they did move it to the next day, but they had a contingency plan in place. You could tell like baseball was like totally caught off guard. They had no idea what to expect. And for a NASCAR racetrack, which normally fits like 100,000 people or something crazy like that, why wouldn't they be prepared enough to handle the amount of people that were going to be there for a baseball game? It doesn't make any sense. Like, they had less people there for the baseball game than anything else because they had a whole section of this stadium just like portioned off because you literally could not see anything from where they were. But the stadium was like impressive. Like the way they built it, I was like so like it really was a sight to see. Yeah, that's a good shot of it here. And you can see this shot of it here. See, they put the baseball field in the so if you were sitting in the stands for the NASCAR, like the NASCAR stands, you couldn't see shit. They built a couple of stands so that you could see some stuff close up, but if you were in the NASCAR seats, you could not make out a single thing. But this was at Bristol Speedway, and they had there's like a big jumbotron over it, so I'm sure most people went there and watched it. Yeah, see, there's the hot dogs and everything like that. What a fucking nightmare. That's embarrassing for Major League Baseball to do something like that for the first time, which is a shame. I was rooting for them. You know what I liked? I like when they did the Field of Dreams game a couple of years ago. That was fun. Like to play a Major League Baseball game in the Field of Dreams fields. That was cool. You want to see more stuff like that, you know? You really do. What happened to we just went on a cucking spree over here between Matt and Paul. What is they're doing their own cuckcast in the middle of the fucking just 20 cuck comments in a row here. I hate to do this to you fellas, but I'm gonna have to give you a cuck alert. I had to give the whole audience a cuck alert. The amount of cuck comments coming out of YouTube. All right. And there's Christella just joined in the fray. There you go. Christella didn't want to get left out of the Cuckfest. All right, that's it for us. Appreciate you guys as always. Don't forget the What's New on Streaming blog is up at anthonyonair.com. Click on that. We put it out on all our socials the other day. So share that along if you can. For people that are looking for new fun things to watch. Like I said, there's a new Wednesday season coming to Netflix. That's a big deal. Jason Momoa's got a new show out there. All that information is up at anthonyonair.com. So shoot on over there and check out our weekly blogs on what is coming to streaming services. Cuddles and I watched the Billy Joel documentary. Cannot suggest it enough. In fact, I called... my mother called me today and she was like, "Did you watch the Billy Joel documentary?" And I was like, "Yes, I did, Mom. I liked it." She's like, "All right, good." I think she was going to disown me if I said no. She was going to call the Long Island police on me. They were going to come round up our family, take us out of here. We wouldn't be allowed to live here no more. But I saw the Billy Joel documentary. It was great. I'll admit part one, I think, was a little better than part two. Definitely more intriguing on the earlier days. But I learned like 12 new things about Billy Joel that I didn't know before, even though I was a fan. So very cool to see. Cuddles loved it. My mom loved it. What else do you need? What else do you need? Back with you guys on Wednesday. Enjoy those Taco Tuesdays, everybody. We'll see you.
Show me potato salad.
Maybe we should go now.
Go ahead.